What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so I debated talking about this because, knowing Trump, you just never know what's bullshit from him, what are lies, what's just propaganda to just, feed his base, and what's deflection to keep people's eyes and attention and diverted away from Epstein. So I want to put that into this whole thing too, because this could be a nothing burger for the most part. But I do want to talk about this just in case this guy does have the cojones to try to do this shit and come Monday, right? So what I'm getting at is, you remember that guy they called, what was it, Big Balls? Some teenage computer genius who worked for Doge, who was the darling of the right wing MAGA movement. Well, supposedly he was beaten up in DC recently, right? And this is supposed to be a picture of him. And I gotta be honest with you, I think this picture is fake. It's supposed to be him, and the reason why I just think it's really weird that, suppose there's him all beaten up, bloodied, and battered, but I don't see any cuts. I don't see. I don't see any cuts. I don't see any bruises. His hair doesn't look matted or tattered, all frumped up. The shirt just placed so gently on his shoulder. The blood looks fake, and then in the background you have a vehicle that's happened to say American on the back. It just looks fake as shit. Okay, like some stupid propaganda put out there in place just to justify the shit they're trying to do. So anyway, Trump wrote on Truth Social, crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youths and gang members, some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens, at the same time knowing that they will be almost immediately released. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them, but it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly, for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together, and quickly, we'll have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run, and put criminals on notice that they are not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have had to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I am going to exert my powers and federalize this city. Make America great again. Now, I just find it interesting that Trump is so triggered off of this alleged beatdown of this one person. But yet, when this happened, 4 years ago, I didn't sense the same energy. But anyway, supposedly Trump's going to give a speech, a press conference, and talk about his plans for D.C. I think it's either today or early Monday. And supposedly Monday is supposed to be a day that, if it does happen, it's going to happen, right? Because supposed federal takeover of D.C. So martial law is essentially, the government taking over, or the military or whatever, um, law enforcement / military taking over an area, okay? And usually, to a certain extent, when you're under martial law, certain, at least some, many or most civil liberties become suspended. often for a few days or weeks or whatever. Now, supposedly he's saying, Trump, that DC is out of control, which doesn't make any sense because crime in DC is down some 25, 26% over the past 5 to 6 years. So it's not like DC is out of control. I think the only president to ever attempt to exert martial law was Abraham Lincoln, but that's when we was in the throes of civil war. Also, interestingly, I want to point this out that historically, the worst years of crime for Washington, D.C. was ironically under Republican presidents, Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, right? And there was a spike under George W. Bush. So, let's get back to today. So, I don't know if he legally can do this shit because, first of all, I would think it would take, first of all, ever since the early 1970s, there was a law passed which mandated that DC be governed by a local government because DC, didn't have a local government really until the early 1960s. DC wasn't even able to vote in presidential elections until 1964. It was early 1970s when DC finally had an ordinance passed where they have local government, a mayor, and city council. But DC is not it's not a state. It's its own entity. It does not have a governor. DC does not have U.S. Senate representation. It does not have House Representatives representation. It's its own entity. It's close to Virginia. It's close to Maryland, but it's not part of any state. Okay. So that kind of opens the door for Trump to do something like this because Washington, the White House is within, and the federal government, the executive branch, it's in DC. But the problem is, you would think legally for Trump to do this, it would have to take the authorization, the cooperation of Congress. Congress, for the most part, is out of session. Remember, they have adjourned because they didn't want to vote on the Epstein shit. I don't think they convene until late August. So I don't, or September. So I don't know what could become of this. But then again, Republicans are basically at Trump's call and beckon to do whatever the fuck they want, what he wants them to do. They dance to his tune. So I don't know. This could be real, man. Now look, when I say this, I'm not talking about the whole country. I'm just saying this could be some type of test run of some bullshit that Trump and the whole Project 225 and all that bullshit, right? I mean, because look what's going on in Texas and how Governor Abbott and Republicans are trying to gerrymander Democrats from existence, or pretty much from even competing in Texas. So this is a real thing going on. They're trying to do it, and they try to distract us with other shit to talk about. So, I don't know how real this is, man, but I'm going to keep my eye on this. And also just want to mention this too. For all you Trump fans that say stupid shit like, oh, Too Raw suffers from Trump derangement syndrome, I want you to know that I think you suffer from Trump dick sucking syndrome because no matter what he does, you guys will always do the same thing. You insult and deflect. We can't have adult conversations with you motherfuckers. And you're the reason. People like you are the reason why Adolf Schicklgruber got away with what he got away with. because motherfuckers just like you made excuses for everything that they did back then. Everything. You made excuses for everything that they did because of the basic negative things that regime was for, you were for. But you don't want to admit it because it's not popular to admit it. So you just deflect and see and talk about other shit. And by the way, I've always kept the same energy because I almost lost my channel because I was going in on the Biden regime and how they forced people to take a fucking vaccine. That was unconstitutional. That was some dictatorial shit. Never in the history of our country has our government ever forced us to take a jab without our wanting to take it. We've had many pandemics over the past centuries. The worst one happening in the throes of World War II. You know what I'm saying? The government didn't make us. They never made us take the jab until this past situation. You know what I'm saying? So both parties are guilty of that bullshit on some way, shape, or form of trampling on our civil liberties or our right as our rights as citizens. So anyway, just want to do a video talking about this, man. We'll keep monitoring this situation, see what Trump and his motherfuckers do, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is ridiculous. You know, um, like I said, I don't know that they may be trying to test run to see if they. I don't know what these guys are doing, man. You know, look, I told y'all that Trump really does want to serve a third term. So like I said, I don't know if that's going to happen, but the Democrats look like some pussies right now. All these motherfuckers are doing is they like that teacher that gets. I'm gonna tell you what the Democrats are like, man. They're like Rick Moranis, that teacher that grew up to be a pussy, and all he does is I'm talking about the character Rick Moranis in movies. He don't get respected. They write strongly worded letters, and the Republicans are like fucking goddamn John Goodman, just bullying this motherfuckers. You know, revenge the nerd shit. But anyway, that's all I got to say about it. Tell me what you guys think.